Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Nearly half of those polled believe that the PO-PSL government pursued policies favourable to Russia in 2007 to 2015, according to a poll conducted for Wirtualna Polska. The Law and Justice government wishes to establish a verification commission to investigate Russian influence on Poland's energy security. When asked whether the 2007 to 2015 PO-PSL government had a policy favourable to Russia, nearly 50% of respondents answered in the affirmative. A lie repeated many times becomes some regarded content. In 2009 to 2010, that is during the PO-PSL coalition, one of the most unfavourable gas supply agreements with Russia was negotiated. Poland was represented by the former Minister of Economy, Waldemar Pawlak. The agreement with Russia's Gazprom was to last until 2045, and its provisions would have prevented diversification of energy sources from other directions. In 2019, PGNiG terminated the agreement with Gazprom, and on the 13th of May, the Polish government adopted a resolution to terminate the agreement on the construction of a system of pipelines for the transit of Russian gas through the territory of Poland and the supply of gas from Russia to Poland. A great deal of state processes that were supposed to control this have failed. Completely irrational conduct of the Polish side regarding the length of this agreement. Former Prime Minister Donald Tusk has made no secret of his desire to build good relations with Russia. We want dialogue with Russia as it is. Lack of dialogue serves neither Poland nor Russia. It ruins the interests and reputations of both countries internationally. The theses of former Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski, prepared for a bilateral meeting with Russian Defense Minister Sergei Lavrov in 2008, were revealed last week. Poland is interested in stable supplies of Russian oil and gas. We believe that the EU-Russian energy dialogue is conducive to the development of clear principles of cooperation, and we therefore seek to participate actively in it. On the other hand, in 2010, just 4 months after the Smolensk tragedy, Radosław Sikorski expressed hope for the import of energy from a nuclear power plant in Russia's Kaliningrad. I stress the preliminary interest of the Polish side in the BEA project. I have further declared that the Polish side should consider signing a long-term agreement with Russia for the purchase of electricity from this power plant and on the transit of electricity to European consumers. I propose that this topic be discussed at the next meeting of the Intergovernmental Commission for Economic Affairs of Poland and Russia. At the same time, projects such as the Baltic Pipe and the construction of a nuclear power plant in Poland, for which 500 million zloty had been earmarked, did not come to fruition. By their fruits shall you know them, and those fruits were pro-Russian, pro-EU, and certainly not pro-Polish. According to Sebastian Kaleta, it was the Law and Justice and Solidarna Polska that correctly read Russia's real intentions. He recalls that it was the late Polish President Lech Kaczynski who pointed out the threats coming from Moscow, especially after the 2008 attack on Georgia. Just a few months ago, Waldemar Pawlak of the PSL criticised the Baltic Pipe. If this option had been in power, it would have practically pursued such a policy until the war broke out. On the 1st of December, Law and Justice deputies submitted a proposal to set up an energy verification commission to investigate Russian influence on the Republic's internal security from 2007 to 2022. The Sejm will take up the project at its next session, which begins on the 13th of December. The Ukrainians are surprising Russia and striking several hundred kilometres behind the front line with the help of drones. Kiev is demonstrating Ukraine's ability to strike targets in the Russian hinterland. We do not stop Ukraine from acquiring its own long-range weapons. We do not encourage or help Ukraine to carry out attacks on Russian territory, the United States said. The United States has reacted to reports of attacks on military airports in Russia.
We have neither encouraged nor enabled the Ukrainians to strike inside of Russia.
We are not enabling Ukraine to strike beyond its borders. We are not encouraging Ukraine to strike beyond its borders. Everything we are doing, everything the world is doing to support Ukraine is in support of Ukraine's independence, its sovereignty, its territorial integrity.
The Kremlin has accused Ukraine of carrying out attacks on military airports deep inside Russia. The authorities in Kiev have so far not officially addressed these allegations, as they may soon have much more serious problems. Ukraine, which faces high inflation and unemployment, was supposed to receive support from the European Parliament. However, yesterday Hungary blocked an €18 billion loan.
We know the situation is extremely difficult. There are millions of people without water, heat or electricity, so we really need to move forward. Well, since today one member state objected, we did not reach agreement today. The work will continue on the days ahead.
Hungary has decided to blackmail the European Union, which does not want to disperse funds from the National Recovery Plan over the failure of Viktor Orban's government to meet the milestones written in the framework. According to Polish politicians, the Hungarian leader's behaviour is immoral and selfish. The Hungarians are playing hardball here, and they are using Ukraine to do it. Poland would not do that. We are pursuing a different policy. For the time being, they are looking for another way to unblock this EU loan, which would not require the consent of all 27 countries. There is still some time. So far, we are in December. Poland will certainly continue to help its neighbours across the eastern border. Poland provides humanitarian aid directly to Ukraine. We are providing assistance to the health sector and internally displaced Ukrainians by building temporary housing settlements for 20,000 people at a cost of more than €75.5 million. According to preliminary OECD estimates, in 2022 alone, Poland will allocate about 1.5% of Polish GDP to humanitarian aid. A United Nations humanitarian mission has been working in Ukraine since the 24th of February. The result of its work is a comprehensive report presented today which documents war crimes committed by Russians.
We documented the deaths of 441 civilians, which includes 341 men, 72 women, 20 boys and 8 girls. We are still in the process of corroborating an additional 198 alleged killings in these areas. There are strong indications that the summary executions documented in the report may constitute the war crime of willful killing, as the circumstances surrounding these deaths suggest that Russian soldiers knew that they were targeting civilians but still used lethal force.
Moscow has repeatedly denied accusations of targeting civilians in Ukraine. The Kremlin has left unanswered requests from members of the United Nations humanitarian mission in Ukraine to respond to the allegations. So far, 6,702 civilian deaths have been counted. However, the true scale of Russian atrocities may be much higher. Earlier today, Germany detained 25 members and supporters of a far-right group that the prosecutor's office said was preparing a violent overthrow of the state to install as national leader a prince who had sought the support of Russia. Bavarian Interior Minister Joachim Herrmann called it one of the largest terrorist organizations from right-wing sectors in recent years.
Es handelt sich hier ganz
This is obviously one of the largest terrorist organizations that has
terroristischen
in the
Vereinigungen,
more
die es
right-wing
in den
sector in
letzten
recent
Jahren
years.
in dem
In any case, as
eher
far as I can judge,
rechtsgerichteten Bereich
it is the worst we
gegeben
have seen so far in the environment
jedenfalls
of this
auch, soweit ich das beurteilen kann, das Schlimmste, was wir bislang. Und es haben sich hier eine Reihe
A number
von
of suspects have been found in the preparation of
in der
terrorist
Vorbereitung
activities.
terroristischer
A large number of places in
ergeben.
Bavaria have been
Es sind
searched today.
heute
A total of more than
eine
20 with a
Vielzahl
total
von
of more than
Objekten
15
in
suspected
Bayern
participants.
durchsucht worden.
A total of 6 persons from Bavaria have been arrested as part of this nationwide, partly international operation.
Verdächtigen Beteiligten. Es sind
Prosecutors said the group was inspired by the deep state conspiracy theories of Germany's Reichsbürger and QAnon, whose advocates were among those arrested after the storming of the United States Capitol in January 2021. Members of the Reichsbürger do not recognize modern-day Germany as a legitimate state. Some of them are devoted to the German Empire under monarchy, while some are adherents of Nazi ideas and others believe Germany is still under military occupation. A former parliamentary lawmaker from the far-right Alternative for Germany was also among those detained, according to German prosecutors. Investigators suspect individual members of the group had concrete plans to storm the Bundestag, the lower house of parliament, in Berlin with a small armed group, prosecutors said. Prosecutors also said the raids were conducted by more than 3,000 police officials and security forces across 11 German federal states. Suspects were also arrested in Austria and Italy, the office said. 8 are already in pre-trial detention, with the suspects due to appear before a judge on Wednesday and Thursday to determine the next judicial steps. The Kremlin said there could be no question of any Russian involvement in an alleged far-right plot to overthrow the German state, with spokesman Dmitry Peskov saying that It appears to be a German internal problem. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, have a good night and a better tomorrow.